Being homeless is depressing.
Being homeless is having nothing.
Being homeless is frustrating. It's like no rest.
It's miserable.
Being homeless is lonely, very lonely.
Being homeless is having any place to go, but no place to go.
You know, St. Luke's has always been at its best when we are responding to a need.
It was about 1972. There was a single member of St. Luke's Episcopal Church who handed an individual a single sandwich.
Our response to the homeless was really a response to people who we were stepping over in order to come to church. And at some point, a group of folks at St. Luke's began to realize we can't step over people anymore. We have to begin to respond to them, and the soup kitchen was born.
I get here around 5:30 or 5:45, and then my day in the kitchen be gone. We give them a pretty decent meal each and every day.
We want people who are homeless to desire Clyde's great meals. But the reason we want them to desire his great meals is that that's a way for us to engage in a relationship with the person so we can then not only provide a good meal, but provide far more that's going to help them get off the streets permanently.
The most immediate need that you see when you meet homeless people is that they're hungry. They're asking for money for food, and so the feeding ministry became sort of the most evident thing to do to meet that need. Over time it evolved, and it became clear that we really weren't doing any more than just meeting a fundamental need by feeding homeless people every day. And so we evolved into an organization that was really focused on trying to understand the causes of homelessness for each person and to do what we could to knock those causes down and to get them stabilized and redeem their lives.
Seldom is there one issue that causes a person to be homeless.
There are just, in this economy, there's so many people out of work, and they're up against people who have a lot of education who have no jobs. So I've watched women come through the doors that are not necessarily in our women's program, but just that we're assisting to get birth certificates, that type of thing, that they just for months and months and months and months look for jobs and just say there's nothing.
Crossroads, we have all disabilities to come through. We see many veterans that have served their time, they become mentally or physically disabled, and then there are no services for them. And so they end up sleeping on the streets.
Scars that were imposed upon them, sometimes physical, most of the time emotional, that if not properly addressed, were going to manifest themselves later in life. And those scars led a person to say, if this is the way life is, let me find something, anything, to make my journey, my time here, a little more pleasant. And then there's a buddy that says, I can get you a hit of crack cocaine for $2, and that's going to make you feel better. And the downward spiral begins. And thus you end up at the front door of 420 Cortlandt Street. It takes time to begin to unpeel all those layers, all those scars that may have happened in the first 6 years of a person's life.
I wonder if I was given what they were given, if I would have the strength to do what they do.
When people come in and they are so beat down, they can have conversations with Dominic and Emily and start believing that they're a real person again. You have to be stronger than you can even imagine to be homeless, to have people put you down the way they do, to have people look at you the way they do, to have people treat you the way they do, and still want to make yourself better. You have to be incredibly strong.
One thing that I struggle with is that people want you to help homeless people, but they don't want you to invest in homeless people. You know, in a ministry, we're so used to investing and getting a return, quick return. You know, you don't get that when you deal with a person that has been scarred for years, and then we get them, and they're all right in 6 months. It don't work like that.
Having a plan gives people hope. And that's what they do down here. It's amazing.
We've had great continuity with the core part of our staff. Those people know off the top of their head who to refer people to in the Human Services Network. Crossroads is greatly respected among people that we refer our guests to because they know that we believe in accountability, and the people that we're going to send them, we're going to stay after them to try to make sure that they do what they're supposed to do.
We started the women's program initially to get women who were homeless and had become employed a stable place to live.
My name is Desiree Pascal.
They hear it on the streets that if you come to Crossroads, it's a good place where you can get started back again.
I'm a recovering addict, and I had lost everything. I had no destination, no plan. I showed up and I stood in line, and Mr. Hurd brought me in his office after intake, and he started talking with me. And from there, we just built up a relationship and a trust.
Tess and our relationship went up and down. Sometimes she would have a success and fall.
His non-judgmental attitude, just his helpfulness, support, and listening. I didn't know that there was treatment centers. I didn't know there was counselors. I didn't know that people cared.
Tess has been one of the people that we have case managed 3 years now and see a good success.
When I come into this facility, it takes me out of the desperation of where I'm at.
We presently have 10 women that were in the program now. And I think it's with those 10 women, we have 30 kids.
People are willing to listen. They are willing to guide and direct you and give you some hope out of a hopeless situation.
She started her own NA group, which is very good.
What was given to me so freely, I give back now.
Many of our women have what Tess has, which is that desire to give back because they've been in a place and they want to give back and to help other people.
You might hear of stories that don't end the way that we would like them to end. But who determines the figures? I don't care if 50 didn't make it. I was the one who made it. And I'm glad that they stayed around for me to come through the door.
I went down there and picked my son up, and because I didn't want him to go into Child Protective Services, so I went to go get him myself and tried to do the best I can, but the best I can wasn't really good at the time, and I ended up being homeless. I really didn't have nothing. Like, I was sleeping in abandoned houses, and I didn't have no Pampers for him, no milk, no nothing, and I was really trying to get myself together, stop doing some of the devilish stuff that I was doing. My dad had been in prison my whole life, so the first opportunity that I could get to be a father, I took it.
His family didn't want anything to do with him because his father went to jail for the murder of his uncle. And he looked like his father. So they basically threw him out.
Crossroads, they saved me a lot. They helped me get my ID, my social security card, my birth certificate. They helped me get a housing, a job.
I kind of latched onto him because he didn't have to have that baby. He explained to me how he had just gone to get him out of Florida. We didn't know where the mother was at that time. We found her in jail in Florida. He told me his whole family had turned against him when he went to get the baby because they didn't think he should do it. He had everything against him, and having a baby just made it a lot harder. But he stayed true to us. He kept coming back. We had hard, deep conversations about what he could and could not do, what it was going to take for him to become independent again. And every time we'd throw something at him, he'd take it and he'd do it. But unfortunately, when he came to us, he did have a past, and this past he still has to deal with. With the support of Crossroads and Peter Odom volunteering his time to represent him, he now has the strength, the courage, and the support and community to face this past, to make sure that his son has a father that is not in jail. And now that he's in a house, he gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning. It is a 3-hour commute with 3 buses and 3 trains to get his house, childcare, into his job, and he does it every single day. And he doesn't have anybody. He has no family that talks to him. He has no friends that talk to him. So when he gets home at 8 o'clock at night, it is him and Damari by himself, and goes to sleep, and the next morning they do it all over again.
I'm doing great. I'm doing great, and I have a real good support team from Crossroads, because they keep me level-headed, they keep me focused. It feels good to know that somebody has your back, you feel what I'm saying? It really do, and most people that's homeless, nobody really don't have their back. So they just really be out there by themselves, and they be lost, and they don't really know what to do. Because I knew I was. You gotta be strong. I wouldn't have nothing. I wouldn't have nothing without Crossroads. They sure helped me out. That's honest. They helped me out real good. Yeah. Yeah, they helped me out real good. You just gonna keep headbutting me like that, man?
I think Crossroads is a great example of people of faith coming together to dissipate the fear and offer hope to those who are struggling against mighty odds in our culture.